East Hampton Town Board, we are live.
Good morning, all. My name is David Leese, and I want to welcome everyone to the East Hampton Town Council meeting of January 13, 2026 at the wonderful Montauk's Library Suzanne Cosman Community Meeting Room. Prior to the calling of the roll call, before we begin, I want to note that Supervisor Burke-Gonzalez is not able to make it today to today's work session because she is in Albany for the State of the State address as an invited guest of Governor Hochul. I also want to recognize the work that the supervisor has done to keep East Hampton on New York State's radar. That consistent advocacy and relationship building is one of the reasons that we have been more successful than ever in becoming to securing state support for projects that matter here at home in East Hampton and in Montauk. Just last month, the town was awarded about $3.3 million from New York State to advance affordable housing and to complete the natural resources inventory that will help us better protect our environment. And as we will later discuss on today's agenda, under the leadership of Supervisor Burke-Gonzalez, the town secured the $2.5 million in state funding for the Ditch Plain Dune project. Supervisor Burke-Gonzalez is in Albany today. I'm a little jealous, to be honest. We all like to be there. Continue to press East Hampton's priorities forward, and we appreciate her leadership and the results it continues to deliver for East Hampton's residents. With that noted, Mr. Hanson, please call the roll.
Councilmember Flight. Present. Deputy Supervisor Leese.
Present.
Councilmember Rogers.
Present.
Councilmember Calder-Piedmont.
Present.
Supervisor Burke-Gonzalez.
Could we please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, I want to welcome all to today's Town Council meeting, and the Town Board has a broad agenda. First, we will have the South Fork Sea Farmers interns presentation. We have Henry Cooper here, Zoe McDonald, Hudson Tansman, Carly Stuckert, and Wiley Stern. I want to thank Bob Tyneman also for your tutelage, and also John Dunn, Barley Dunn, who is our Director, Department of Aquaculture. Thank you very much for all being here and your outstanding stewardship to these young individuals. We have also will be discussing amending Chapter 246, Waterways and Boats. These are various amendments. That is be led by Jacob Turner, Town Attorney, and Tim Treadwell also. Third, we'll be discussing amendments of Chapter 255 in zoning. This will be construction of Tier 2 and Tier 3 personal wireless service facilities. Jake Turner will lead that discussion. We'll also have an after-hearing discussion about 213 Three Mile Harbor and East Hampton. This is the Martinez UR map discussion. Charlie Collins will help discuss that along with our town attorneys. And then lastly, we'll be having a Ditch Plains Dune reconstruction update. Myself, Councilmember Rogers, and also Brian Frank will zoom in for that. But before we get to our agenda, let's proceed to the public portion of the meeting. I respectfully ask for all to keep their comments to 3 minutes or less. Is there anyone in the room that has any public comments, anything at all they'd like to discuss with the board? Andy Harris, please come to the podium. Welcome, Andy.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Andy Harris, a resident of Montauk. Deputy Supervisor David Lees, thank you for the opportunity to briefly offer my commendation to Supervisor Burke-Gonzalez for a very comprehensive State of the Town address. You just referenced where she is today at the State of the State address with Kathy Hochul. Kathy's own State of the Town address delivered to the Town Board and to the community was exemplary in terms of its coverage, highlighting all the great work that this Town Board has been doing in the past 12 months, but also forward-looking and much of the good work that will evolve in 2026. I'd particularly like to draw reference to the work in Montauk, again, from historic preservation to coastal resiliency, the $184 million secured from federal funding for the downtown beaches, which I know Deputy Supervisor David Lees helped orchestrate, to the $2.5 million secured from New York State that Council Member Kate Rogers helped secure, ancillary funding from the town itself. Thank you for that focus on Montauk, and David, thank you for your continued liaison work as the liaison to the town from the Montauk CAC. It's much appreciated. Thank you.
Anyone else? LTV, do we have anyone on the phone?
One moment, please.
Hey everybody, this is Jason Hour from LTV. Just wanted to let you know the phone lines have been up and active, but we have no callers on the line. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jason. Let's move forward. Mr. Cooper, would you like to come to the podium here? Jason, you'll be running the slide deck for us?
Absolutely. Give me a second, and I'll make sure this is up and running. One moment, everybody. We'll get this going.
Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Henry Cooper. I'm in 12th grade. We have Carly Stuckert, she's in 11th grade. Zoe McDonald, she's in 10th. Hudson Tansman, he's in 10th. And Wiley Stern, he's in 10th. We're all East Hampton High School students except for Zoe, who goes to Ross. And in this presentation, we're just going to be talking about all of the work that we've been doing, as well as just what the South Fork Sea Farmers have been doing over the last few months. And before we start, we just love to give a huge thanks to the board for the grant. With that, we were able to get a tumbler, and that will clean the shells, which allows the spat to stick to them more efficiently. We'd also like to thank them for the truck donation, because that will allow us to efficiently transport shells from restaurants. This will be really beneficial for us. The next slide, please. Yeah, so this is just about the internships and about the interns. So in order to become an intern, one, you just have to express your desire to improve the environment and in just environmental restoration. And each of us is working on or will be working on a personal project, which we'll get into later in the presentation. But the projects usually start in 11th grade and continue on in 12th grade. So the 10th graders are figuring out what they want to do right now. And also, we like to just inform the public about what we do. For example, like at the best tasting oyster competition, Bob and his daughter made a slideshow, or just like a poster board, and we just got to talk about what we do there. And we just like to do that to inform people on what's going on. Next slide, please. And these are just the current projects we're working on. So obviously we have the oyster reefs, which we've been doing for the last few years. And the picture on the left is what Jocelyn Garcia has been working on. And she graduated last year and now is at George Washington. And that's going well. And the picture on the right is what the project I'm working on currently is supposed to look like if all goes well. Like that just shows a developed flourishing eelgrass reef through the Bessie sheets, what I'll get into later. I'll just pass it to Zoe's.
Next slide. Oysters are a keystone species, meaning they are very important to keeping our ecosystems healthy. Even though oysters are small, they have a big effect on their environment. Each adult oyster can filter up to 50 gallons of water each day. Next slide. This is an example. This is a 10-gallon tank, and it only took 10 minutes for the oysters to clean it, and that's very significant. And then go back a slide, please. Oysters create safe habitats for many marine species by giving them shelter and protection from predators. They also reduce erosion by absorbing wave energy. Oysters are an important part of the food chain because many animals rely on them for food. They also help clean the water by filtering it and removing excess nutrients and particles. This improves the water quality and keeps coastal ecosystems healthy. Next slide. Next slide. Algal blooms occur when algae grows very quickly, often forming surface scums and causing the water to change color. Not all algal blooms are dangerous, but harmful algal blooms, or HABs, are a serious concern. They often happen in warm water with lots of excess nutrients and can release toxins that are harmful to fish, other wildlife, and even people. We have all seen the results of red and brown tides in our waters. These blooms disrupt fisheries and create both economic and environmental issues. Oysters act as a natural filter, consuming excess algae and other contaminants.
slide. So currently we have 3 different oyster reefs in Accabonac Harbor. These 3 oyster populations are expected to spawn at around the same time, which is important because synchronized spawning increases the chances of fertilization, which is the fusion of male and female gametes, or sex cells, to create a zygote. Each adult oyster can release between 50,000 and 100,000 gametes during a spawning event, but 99% of these gametes will not make it and get eaten by other organisms. Furthermore, this massive release of gametes, with 99% of all getting eaten, leaves not that many to survive in the water. The likelihood of natural set, or when larvae attaches to a surface and grows into an oyster, is greatly enhanced with more oyster reefs in a given area. The addition of reefs 5 and 6 to reef 4 in 3 Mile Harbor will increase the chances of natural set in these reefs, ultimately improving the oyster populations. Next slide. Our 5th and 6th reefs got approved, so the building of them is going to begin this spring. In order to start building them throughout the winter, we're going to go around to restaurants and collect oyster shells and begin creating the bags that this reef will be built from.
Next slide, please. Here's an aerial shot of the skiff bringing oyster bags to reef number 3, which is located in Accabonac Harbor. This is a rectangular reef, but others are more linear in their shape. Each reef is 50 square yards, which is the maximum size allowed by the state. Next slide, please. Our 2 collection sites are at East Hampton Town Dock and Sofo in Bridgehampton. Along with these sites, we have restaurants that donate their shells to us, which are picked up and brought to us by volunteers. Oyster larvae need to set onto a hard surface in order to develop into adult oysters. So recycled oyster and clam shells are used in the creation of the reefs. Next slide, please. At the East Hampton Shellfish Hatchery, the developing spat are sat onto the recycled shells to grow. First, oysters are shoveled into biodegradable bags made from potato starch, which over time dissolve into nothing. This is usually done with the help of volunteers. Blank bags, or shells with no spat, are used for the bottom layer of the oyster reef, and bags with spat on shelf are used for the top layer of the oyster reef. With 700 bags of oysters in them, 360 are just shell, and 340 of them have spat on them. Next slide, please.
So oftentimes we'll go out to the shellfish hatchery here in Montauk where they have that huge pile of shells. And what we do with them is we wrap the biodegradable bags around those concrete cylinders, and then we just shovel in a couple scoops of shells and then tie off the bags. In a couple hours, we can maybe make a couple hundred of these bags, and then we use them to make the reefs. Next slide. We work very closely with the East Hampton Town Shellfish Hatchery, specifically Barley and his crew. They do a lot of the real work that makes what we do possible. One of the things that they do is trick mature oysters into spawning by placing them into a tank with water and then gradually increasing the temperature. And then the resulting larvae from that are transferred to tanks where they can grow until they're ready to set. And as you can see, that oyster shell on the right has tons of little oyster larvae, all those little dots. Next slide, please. And then when we're actually building the reef, it normally takes us 3 days. The first day, we just go and stake everything out. And then the second day, we come back and we place the bottom layer of the reef, which is just the bags with no live oysters or anything. And then third day, we come and we place the top layer, which is bags, same type of bag pretty much, but these ones have the live oyster larvae on them.
Next slide, please. Oh, shoot, never mind.
A year after we placed down our first reef, we checked on it at low tide, and this is what we saw. Every spring, we check the bags of blank shell to see if any natural set has grown. If you remember the spat-on shell from last slide, those little dots have turned into these 3-inch oysters, filtering our water and cleaning our ecosystem. Next slide, please. Our most recent reef in 3 Mile Harbor has been placed in shallower waters than the others, so we will be able to see how that affects the growth. But because they are out of the water during low tide, the oysters will have less time to feed, meaning they will most likely grow slower.
All right, now it should be my turn. Next slide, please. Yeah, so I'm just gonna be talking about the project that I personally have been working on, and it's with eelgrass restoration. So I started off by just reading peer-reviewed articles where I realized that eelgrass were kind of running into the same issue that oysters were running into, that they've been rapidly disappearing over the last few decades due to just climate change and pollution. And this is an issue because eelgrass are super important in preventing erosion. And especially in the environment I live in, like there's so many coastal homes out here, so that's a huge issue. They also provide habitat to numerous number of just marine animals and promote biodiversity by just providing food and shelter to those animals. Next slide, please. And this is just the materials and sort of the process I went through when going through my project. So I used biodegradable 3D Bessie sheets so me and Dr. Tiemann, we went on a Zoom call with these scientists from Europe, and we just talked about the product and about what it was used for. And basically, we're just using the Bessie sheets for stabilization for the eelgrass, where we'd put the eelgrass runners through the sheets because the current, if we just planted them in the ground, they would most likely just blow away and the project would have failed. And then we also used 4-foot bamboo stakes where we cut them to make the crosses with the string. And the horizontal part in the cross, so we'd stick it down through the sheets because they have little holes in them. And the cross would kind of just stop at the top of the sheet, and we use that so that the current wouldn't really blow the sheets away. So we just use it for additional stabilization. And then we also use the eelgrass, which is a picture of the second in the bag. I'll get into that in a second. And then we use a hammer to hammer down the stakes, or the bamboo stakes. Snorkels so we could see clearly because we had to look underwater to see what we were doing because sometimes the tide was too high, so we couldn't just do it standing up. And we also used a boogie board because we had to kind of go out and we didn't want to just be going walking from shore back and forth, just carrying 3 sheets at a time. So we did that. And we also needed permission from the board to do this. And first we had to find meadow locations where we could get transplants. So we got that off of Hicks Island, and that's what you see in the bag. So we just took existing eelgrass and we put it in a cooler with water and we transported it to the sites. And the sites are the pictures on the right with the red lines. We chose those locations because it was shore side of the oyster reefs, meaning that it would give protection from just natural things like wind and storms and stuff like that. And we had to efficiently utilize our resources because we only had a certain amount of sheets. So we ended up going with 2 layers of 25 sheets per location. And we also had a control site where we just put it not next to an oyster reef or anything. And we just predicted that that wouldn't go as well because there's no protection from environmental factors. We just recorded an initial data, how many sheets we put down, how many eelgrass runners we put. I think we did take around 50 eelgrass runners immediately, and we're going to see new shoot growth and stuff like that. Next slide, please. And this is just future data collection that we'll be getting. Obviously, new shoots, so that's just new eelgrass, not existing eelgrass growth, just new ones that we're seeing. But we'll also be measuring eelgrass growth, how many inches they've grown in a certain amount of time. The mortality rate, which is just the survival rate, how many in each location survived, the percentage. Fauna activity, which is just animal activity, because we predicted that it'll promote biodiversity, meaning that there'll be more organisms in the area, which just benefits everything. And we also predicted that the water quality will improve in the area. Next slide, please. And this is Carly's presentation.
Our local community depends on clean water and healthy shellfish beds. Shellfish, like oysters, are important for both the local ecosystem and economy. One type of bacteria found in our waters that I will be studying throughout my high school career is Vibrio bacteria, specifically Vibrio parahemolyticus, which can lead to foodborne illness. As we know, global warming is on the rise, which is leading to increased water temperatures. The goal of my project is to see how these warming water temperatures affect the growth and levels of Vibrio parahemolyticus in Accabonac Harbor. Next slide. So Vibrio bacteria is the leading cause of foodborne illness in the U.S. It is mainly contracted through eating or consuming raw or undercooked shellfish, but it can also occur when it's exposed to open wounds in water. Next slide, please. So I haven't started my project physically, but I'm planning to begin it in February. And for my project, I'm going to take about 4 bags, each filled with 120 oysters, and place them in the 4 different locations pictured in Accabonac Harbor on the slides. And with these bags, in these different areas, the different areas have different levels of circulation and turbidity. As you can see, they're different distances from the mouth of the harbor. So throughout my studies, I'm going to place these bags of just plain old oysters in February. And in May, I'm going to begin data collecting. And when I collect, I'm going to take 1 oyster out of each bag, measure the water temperature, salinity, and turbidity in the area before removing the oyster from the bag. And I'm going to take this oyster back to the lab and extract some of the inside and test the levels of Vibrio parahemolyticus. And I'm going to do this bi-weekly from May to about October, November, and see how clearly the water temperature is going to change. From May to November, it's going to warm. So I'm going to see how the levels vary between these different months with different water temperatures. Next slide.
Next slide, please. So I think the most important thing that this internship has done for me is that it's helped me come up with a few potential ideas for my science research project that I'm going to be doing next year. And along with that, it's also helped me develop the skills that I'll need in order to be able to actually perform this experiment when the time comes.
Yeah, so for me, this internship has provided me with lots of hands-on learning that I normally wouldn't get in a classroom. And also we get to get out of school today, so that's also a
This internship has been great, and it's helped me make a connection with mentors that are in the field that I want to work in when I'm older, and build great relationships with these people behind me and Bob and everyone else that's been involved.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Let me go ahead.
The next slide just says questions on it. So
One more slide. So questions. Well, thank you so very much for your wonderful presentation then too. It's been great to hear this then too. And also you mentioned some of the individuals in this room that are great stewards of this knowledge. I want to thank you both to the bottom of our heart from the town board for helping our students and our youth in East Hampton do so. Town board, do we have any questions?
I don't have a question. I do have one question. Is there a way for either visually or by smell that you could tell if an oyster has burbiosis?
Vibrio parahemolyticus.
No. So
You test the level.
You just
Why don't you pop up?
step to the podium. Sorry, Carly. Thank you.
No, that it doesn't have a smell, but I'm gonna take it and do a qPCR test and test the levels using.
Yeah, so specifically,
Regardless.
this is a very important work for the health and safety of our community.
Yeah, especially with global warming. The studies have shown that the levels are usually higher with warmer water temperatures, so it's something to keep in mind when you're choosing to eat raw or undercooked shellfish in the summer months.
Yeah, thank you. And also, I think you all bring to light the importance of dealing with the impacts of the climate crisis as
Yes.
well. So I thank you for your work and for signing up to do this for our community. And we're going to learn a lot from you. And I hope you come back in May or all of you come back and give us another update on this. Is a seriously important topic. And thank you so much for your leadership on this.
Thank you.
I have one follow-up question, so about the eelgrass. I like to be out there snorkeling, and I've seen it decline out there. I've also seen a huge amount of litter out there in the water. Is that something you guys are seeing when you're out there doing your projects? Is it a concern to you? And do you see it impacting, the eelgrass?
I mean, honestly, when I'm in Accabonac Harbor, I don't see as much litter, but obviously, I know that's a major issue. It's everywhere in the world. There's litter everywhere in the ocean. And I don't know 100% that it's doing something, but it probably definitely is. It's either probably lowering the water quality, and obviously it's contributing to pollution and stuff like that, which is hand in hand kind of just lowering the quality of everything that goes on in the marine ecosystem around us. So yeah, that is an issue. It's definitely probably having a negative impact on it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for this really professional presentation and the work that you do. I think that our water quality, groundwater, and our waterways is, some of the most important things here. I'm learning a lot from you now, and I look forward to continue to learn as your projects progress. But yeah, I just can't thank you enough for both your presentation and the work you're doing.
When it comes to aquaculture or mariculture and the internship that we've seen here, and I know some of your siblings have also done an internship, we're now seeing this for multiple years and potentially, if this continues, into generations, which I think is something that's spectacular out here, that you're on the front doorstep of that then too. How else can the town board assist this internship move forward to get better for the South Fork Sea farmers or yourselves?
Well, although my time's coming to an end, obviously we have a bunch of like 10th graders and
How old are you, man?
like almost 18.
Well, you are just about to start off, my friend. It's not coming to the end. You're prime, man.
I'm saying my time in East Hampton.
Sure.
But we have all these 10th graders, and I'm assuming we're gonna get more Bob's gonna get more interns, like up and coming interns, and they're gonna have their own projects. Whereas I had to go in front of the board and present on my project and why I kind of needed these resources in order to do X, Y, and Z. They're gonna run into the same exact issues. So I guess the best way to help them out is just to at least hear them out and hear what they have to say, and then make your decision from there, and just try to support them in all the ways you can so that they can do their work. That's about it.
Well done. So I want to put a cap on this by thanking Bob and thanking Barley. I think what this shows is that the health of our waters still need help right now. South Fork Sea Farmers does that. I know we have internships at other NGOs such as CSUM who are represented here today too. What we need to do as a whole right now is continue to protect our planet, but we also need to continue to support and educate our students. And I think that's what we're doing here in this room, and everything you're doing is now helping us as we want to protect your hometown here in East Hampton then too. It's very special. I also think it shows, and it re-energizes myself to the need to consolidate our town's aquaculture facilities as they're doing in other areas of the state then too. With that, we will continue to clean our waters as one sliver and one option and layer that we need to move forward on there. I continue to look forward to thank you for my fellow board members. I know the supervisor says the same then too. I look forward to when the governor comes out here again then too. Maybe she can get this presentation at some point then too. If you are the vision of what East Hampton's going to look in 20 years, our vision is bright. So please continue on. We look forward to having you in again. Thank you very much, all.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Barley, I have some paddle boards that haven't seen the light of day in quite some time. Maybe they'd be good use to you guys. So let's do that.
Okay, thank you so very much, everyone, and thank you for the parents also for their support then too. I think that's one of the portions I didn't mention. For any student internship for students, it takes rides to get individuals there. It takes support, and I also want to thank the parents also then too for your participation in this internship, because I know how important that is also for one's here and one's afar. Next, onto our agenda, I'm going to move forward into potential amendments to Chapter 246, Waterways and Boats. There's various amendments. I welcome to the podium Harbor Master Tim Treadwell, and then also Jacob Turner, please.
Good morning.
Try to follow that one up, Tim.
Yeah, I got to say, as one of many stewards of our waterways in the town, that's really, really excellent. I hope that we can all be stewards of our waterways, and you guys are really taking a lead on that, and it's a wonderful thing. I'm glad I was here to see that. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Tough act to follow.
We're not going to be able to.
Yeah, that's right.
There we go. Great. So Tim has some recommendations from the Marine Patrol that he's been working on, that some clarity to the code, or to try to make the code equal to what we're seeing in the DEC. So moving ahead, I know timeliness is always a situation that we're trying to look to get some of these potentially implemented, reviewed in advance of summer 2026. To do that, we start now in January. So Tim, please take an advance to the board on some of your discussion points.
Is this going to be?
Sure.
Sorry, do we have this on the screen by chance, Jason?
I don't have that presentation.
No problem. Then we'll just go off the memo and we'll go off the direct things, and you could just be as elaborate as possible.
Sure. So the first change is in 246-5, wharfage fees at certain public docks. There was a sentence in the code that's existed during my career where it says that no vessel shall tie up or remain berthed at publicly owned dock or bulkhead in 3 Mile Harbor or Lake Montauk unless such vessel has paid a slip rental or wharfage fees for such space. That's all good. But then the next sentence, the failure to move such vessel when ordered by the town harbor master or the town police shall be a violation of that section. We're looking to delete that sentence so that you don't, because the problem we have is people tie up unlawfully to our bulkheads and in our slips, and then there's no violation until I tell them they have to leave, where they really already committed the violation, in my opinion. So this makes our enforcement of that much easier. So that's why we're looking to. I'm not sure why that line is in there. It would be each day's continued violation shall constitute a separate additional violation that would remain. So
Tim, is the first 24, I mean, is there a time period that, or circumstance where a vessel may be permitted, it's under stress?
Oh, absolutely. If they contact us, absolutely, we'll accommodate it. I mean, the biggest problem we have is, say, for instance, on the Gann Road bulkhead, or, people tie up and they put their boats there to go to dinner at Boswick's. And then we come out there and their boat's there, and then somebody, the commercial fisherman who has rented that slip from the town, he can't get into his slip because there's another vessel tied up there. But because of that sentence in the code, we can't issue a violation to that boat owner because we have to tell him he has to leave first.
And then in Montauk, we do have an emergency slip in Montauk.
Correct.
Because I think we are a port of safe harbor.
Absolutely, everywhere. And we accommodate people all the time, and we tell them where to go, and we always make those accommodations.
Yeah, Tim, I'm good with that change. The only question I have is the policy will be posted so that boaters coming in could realize that this isn't free space for them?
Yes, so we actually have it posted already, yes, particularly on that Gann Road bulkhead and problem spots that we have where people tie up unlawfully.
So as liaison to the Slips Committee, Harbors and Docks, I know we're going to be meeting in the next couple of weeks. I wouldn't mind just presenting this to them, knowing it's not going to be a major change. I think it will still, we'll present to that committee for the review comments, and we can still notice appropriately to be ready for advance of summer season. I know for myself personally, the Gann Road dock is actually, there's historical knowledge there that dock was donated by Gardner's Island and can only be used as a commercial fishing dock. I think there's even a reverter clause there. So recreational berthage there is not even allowed anyway within the deed of ownership also. Too.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah. Ian, are we okay if I bring that to the Slips Committee and then we'll come back to the town board and we'll move that ahead?
Yeah.
Okay. Next, please.
Okay, next we're moving back to shellfish, and we're going to talk about scallops. So now we're actually in section 213.12. So in our code, it says only bay scallops having an annual growth line may be taken. In the Department of Environmental Conservation's regulations, it says they also have to be 2 1/4 inches. So what I'm looking to do is align our regulation with the DEC's so that, because sometimes people don't understand really what a growth line is, and sometimes on an immature scallop, it'll look like it has a growth line, but it's not really a true growth line. So this should help clarify that and make it more clear to the general public what is a legal size scallop.
I'm fully supportive of this. I mean, our scallop population is in peril. And we need to do everything we can to help stabilize that, support it. So I support this change.
Thank you. Then we're back to.
Any other comments?
I'm sorry.
On that one?
I support. Is that the smallest we can do? Because that's pretty small.
Well, I guess we could make it stricter than New York State, but but most of those. If it's 2 1/4, it probably has the growth line.
Okay.
So, or it should have the growth line, absolutely. So, I mean, we could discuss that. I think, though, that might not sell to the public necessarily as well.
It might be easier to regulate if we're in parallel with the DEC code also on it for now than to.
Yeah, I agree.
Thanks. Yep, I'm good with that one.
Jumping back to waterways and boats, 24610, water skiing, surfboarding, and water scooters. Currently, the code, section A says, no person shall ride on water skis, a surfboard, or similar device, or use or operate a boat to tow a person thereon in any marked channel in the town of East Hampton, or within 200 feet of any shoreline, or within 100 feet of any bather or swimmer. So what we would like to do is I would like to add, I believe a foil board really would qualify as a similar device, but the clearer the code is, the better for all of us. So I'd actually like to add the word foil board to the code there. So it would state, no person shall ride on water skis, a surfboard, foil board, or similar device, et cetera. And are you familiar with what a foil board is? It's a, yeah. Well, of course you are. And, so if somebody gets hit by that foil, it could be serious injury. So I think it's good that we, clarify the code to have regulations pertaining to that. And we've also included the definition of a foil board in the code in case someone's not clear on what defines a foil board.
And that's the next one, that we 246-2 definition.
Correct.
Yeah, I support that. My only question is, do you want to look at other areas as well? You're seeing now those, I don't know what they're called even, but the people who have the jet things underneath them to get up in the air. Do we want to include that in this as well? Well, kite surfing.
Yes. So in the definition, it would include a powered foil board. So that would be excluded as well. And that is honestly one of the bigger problems we've had is because those foil boards, the powered foil boards in the channel, are operating at a higher speed than is allowed. They're operating at more than 5 miles per hour. And that's also, we've gotten a lot of complaints about that from boats.
So this is also
particularly in Montauk.
Yeah, swimmer.
It's a public safety issue.
Yes.
Yeah, for me, it's common sense, and I hope folks, realize this type of legislation is for serious issues that can happen when all kinds of users are in the channels.
Yes, and there's plenty of safe areas in our waterways that they
And
can operate
swimmers,
in.
even just in 3 Mile Harbor, outside the channel.
Yep.
Also, the visibility of a swimmer is very little.
Agree.
Any comments?
No, I'm supportive of that.
Okay. Thank you, Tim. Next one.
Okay, next we are on vehicles on the beach. So over the years, believe it or not, we've had a lifeguard at Gin Beach at the end of East Lake Drive for a long time. I believe when that beach first became a lifeguarded beach, the code doesn't prohibit beach driving on that beach. And I think it was an oversight. Over the years, I believe the general public believed there was a beach driving restriction there, so really nobody ever drove on that beach. Last summer, I guess the word got out that it really wasn't restricted, so there were a lot of vehicles operating on that beach, and a lot of people, were concerned with the volume of people on the beach and families and children, that the vehicles it was dangerous to have the vehicles in that small section of beach. And the map on the screen there is really what we're looking at. It's a very small little area of beach, and currently our code doesn't prohibit beach driving from 10 to 6, so it would only be a seasonal restricted time frame from 10 to 6, really, just like all the other restricted beach driving areas. And I think that would be a good change for safety to actually have that restricted.
The time piece I support, is there also a seasonal piece to that as well? I mean, I know in the off season when there's no one really using the beach, a lot of people like to go out there in their vehicles in inclement weather and watch the boats coming in and out. Would that be permissible with this code change?
Oh, yes. This would pattern like the Montauk Ocean Beach, where it's only restricted from, May 15th to September 15th. Perfect. Yeah, between 10 and 6.
So traditionally, I'm an advocate of safe and effective beach driving on there, but where there's an area zone of conflict like this, which would be for bathing beaches and for the public safety, I can understand the restrictions that would go in this location. I think that would be justified for that, personally.
Yeah, I think it's consistent with how we handle the other lifeguarded areas during the seasons, and I'm supportive. Thanks for the catch.
I'm supportive of this change as well.
246-4?
Yeah, so the last one, I think it's the last one, isn't it? So the last one, this is back to waterways and boats, 246-4, removal of disabled boats and beached vessels. So currently in the code, in 246-4B, it references beach vessels, and it says, "No vessel shall be left upon any town or trustee beach after November 1st of any year. Any vessel which is found in violation of this provision shall be subject to impoundment." We impound a lot of vessels at the end of the season for the trustees on their beaches as well as on ours. And the owner thereof shall be subject to penalties, et cetera, et cetera. So what I would like to do is add to the code that all beach vessels shall prominently bear legible contact information for the owner of the vessel, including the owner's name and phone number. So we would give these out for free. These are given out by the state of New York for free. The state of New York recommends, as does the Coast Guard, that every small craft, every vessel like that has an identifying tag on it, so that, not only for enforcement of if they're on the beach when they're, or they're not supposed to be on the beach, but also if we find that vessel washed up somewhere, we don't know if the operator of that vessel is in the water or they at home and their kayak floated somewhere else. So this saves everybody a lot of time and energy if it was required that all vessels have this. It's not going to be perfect. I mean, these will probably last about a season, but it's a step in the right direction, I think, and it would help for both safety and enforcement.
I'm supportive of that. I think it's a good change.
Supportive, yes, absolutely, makes sense.
Me too.
So I have a story on that one. So in one of my past lives, I did a lot of kayaking and paddleboarding, and I was kayaking over at Gardeners Island in that area, and all of a sudden a kayak comes by, bow up, got washed off in a storm. You didn't know who it was. And what that does is just triggers a search and rescue operation then to where you're taking away assets, maybe from a true emergency, for something that we can promote that's out there then too. And it happens after storms. Now, while we're here and I have you on there, the date that on trustee beaches that all vessels must be off the beach is what date every year? November 1st, I believe?
It is November 1st.
So that's just public little announcement out there also then too.
So what I would like to do, by the way, is upon approval, and when we get it in the code, we'd like to do a press release, to the public, explaining, not just, how this is prudent for safety's sake, but also, just about safety in the water, water safety in general. So I plan on putting something together with Patrick for that, to launch that, yes.
I think that'd be a great potential topic for us to come back with and discuss getting closer to the summer season, April, May also then, Tim.
Great.
Board members, any other questions?
Not for me.
Look forward to the next presentation.
What I will do is when the supervisor gets back, we'll reconfirm on this, but I think, and also I'll discuss it with the slips committee, but I would say to the attorney's office, let's start drafting what the code changes would be. So when we're prepared to notice for public hearing, we'll have the draft code changes in front of us now that you've seen that there's board support to move forward in that direction and use your time and energy wisely.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I do have one follow-up question. I mean, I assume the locations where you find the disregarded vessels is pretty consistent. My question there would be, do you feel there's adequate signage up there advising people of these, rules and regulations?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, we do our best to maintain that signage. Sometimes that signage disappears and then we notice that it's missing and we replace that signage. But in general, all the areas where it's very common, there is appropriate signage in those areas.
And what I'll even ask Tim on this one, just to add up, as we are a little quieter potentially now, to have your staff just review that signage to make sure all our put in spots traditionally have that up, and we'll prepare it for the summer season. Thank you, Tom. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for your time. Appreciate it.
Jake, that was a spectacular presentation you just did.
Thank you so much.
Okay, everyone.
Thank you, Jake. Thanks for the backup. Whatever. I always like to have my lawyer next to me.
Thank you so very much. Let's move on to our third agenda item here. This is amend Chapter 255 zoning. This is for construction of Tier 2 and Tier 3 personal wireless service facilities. Town Attorney Jake Turner, please lead it off.
Thank you. This is a recommended code change to our zoning code, specifically under the wireless facilities definition. What we are talking about here is something very simple. And this is coming from our planning department. They're requesting, in conjunction with the building department, explicitly stating that for a tier 2 and tier 3 facility, that a building permit has to be issued. As of right now, it does not explicitly say that in the code. It was picked up by the building department in conjunction with the planning department. One is not needed for tier 1. We already have mechanisms in place to deal with such, including but not limited to highway approval. So this is just for tiers 2 and tier 3.
And so for the general public, tier 1 is the small cell technology that we'll see on maybe on top of telephone poles recently. Tier 2 and tier 3 are more of the macro sites.
Exactly. They are the larger towers and or materials that are placed on top of buildings.
And they also have associated equipment such as generators and other associated structures that have to go along with those installations.
Exactly. And we have to ensure that they are getting the appropriate building permits for such installation.
Yeah, and inspections for safety as well.
Exactly.
Any other questions to board members?
I support it.
So it makes sense to me also. So can you, the supervisor will review this also. Can you please just start drafting the language again so we will see the draft code changes prior to notice of public hearing and then submit it to the board for our review also.
I shall. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. Okay, moving right along. We are going to have an after hearing discussion. Mr. Charlie Collins, Senior Town Attorney, for the 213 Three Mile Harbor, East Hampton, Martinez. This is a UR map modification that we had a second public hearing most recently. Charlie, just want to come up, give a brief, quick overview, and the board will have the discussion on it. Welcome, Charlie.
Yeah, so this, you guys just had the public hearing last week. The second public hearing, the first one I believe was in like October 16th. But at that time, the neighbor was, I think, out of the country, and they were, so to give everyone the platform, we had another hearing. The request is to allow for the abandonment of a half of a paper road, Winslow Avenue. And currently, the other half of the road is allowed to be abandoned, but this half adjacent to that property is not. So the neighbors the owner of 213 Three Mile Harbor is asking for the ability to abandon that, which would incorporate it into their lot. Because right now it's just kind of in limbo. It's a nothing.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think we heard it twice. I think it was also appropriate, as the supervisor mentioned, to reopen it, public hearing, which just doesn't happen all the time, to be able to make sure all voices are heard on this then too. It's a town board discussion.
And I just want to mention that at the hearing, a concerned neighbor did come forward as a speaker. I think that was the only speaker we had on this topic at the public hearing.
Yes, the first public hearing, there was Mr. Buddha was there. And then the second public hearing, it was the neighbor at 217 spoke, and 213's agent spoke as well.
Thank you.
As a liaison to planning, Kate, do you want to start off?
Well, I think I realize the neighbor's concerns. However, it was noted that the neighbor also received that abandonment as well. And I am going to rely on and the planning board reviewed this and finds the proposed change is consistent with urban renewal planning and that it is practical based on comments of the town engineer, which we also have, and the planning department. So the planning board recommended that the town board approve the desired map modification. The town engineer also supported that in the planning department. So for me, I would be in support of this modification.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am as well. I'm in support.
No?
Likewise.
I'm also, I think everyone's allowed to have this in the situation. It's been reviewed on there. They will have to hold themselves to clearing calculations, obviously, for the property that's on the property. I don't think we can hold them also to a covenant of putting a 10-foot fence on their property, 10 feet off their property line. But if they want to hold themselves to that morally, because they did offer that, that'd be great. But again, I think this is very traditionally in this area and how that's happened. So thank you very much, Charlie.
community coming forward for adoption.
Thank you so very much. Yes. Thank you. Great. LTV, I believe we will have Brian Frank in the meeting room there
Yes,
too
he is
on Zoom.
here.
If you could let him in.
Yes, he's already here. And let me go make sure that he's on screen for you.
You don't have to put me on screen.
All right, brother. Okay.
Late.
Don't worry about it.
Brian on
Hey,
screen.
Brian, you're there.
So thank you
Good
so
morning,
very much.
everybody.
And too, this agenda topic item is just it's overview and almost a conclusionary statement about the Ditch Plains Dune restoration effort that has been undergoing recently through construction, but it's been actually undergoing for well over a year then too. So with that, Councilmember Rogers is going to start off the presentation here. We have some photos, videos, and then some shout outs and some conclusionary statements for the board and the general public. Kate, back to you.
Thank you, Deputy Supervisor Lees. I am going to take the first couple of slides. So next slide, please. So the first few photos just give the history of what triggered this action by the town. This is a photo taken January 13th, 2024 at 5 a.m., thank you, Tom, by Councilmember Flight, and it shows the extensive flooding that we saw throughout the Ditch neighborhood. This is Otis Drive looking up, is that what we're looking at? So this, during this time period, there were 3 unnamed storms, December of 2023, January of 2024, which significantly damaged Ditch Plains Beach, flooding into the neighborhood, as you can see. Next slide, please. And as you could see, this is the aftermath as well of that January storm, that the beach eroded to the hard pan, meaning there's no sand whatsoever on the beach, and any remains of the primary dunes, and they were not robust in any way, shape, or form, is now gone. So after surveying the damage, the Supervisor Burke Gonzalez put some plans into action. First, also sending an immediate request for state funding under Article 54 and 58 of the State Environmental Conservation Law, a request for funding from the state. Also, we put into the capital plan immediately $5 million for this project as well. By January 24, we had a plan. Next slide, please. And what you're seeing is a result of the initiation of that plan, and I'll go through it. The town actively sought a morphologist, coastal engineer, consult with the town to provide the most effective short-term and long-term solutions to help Ditch Plain residents mitigate water inundation during storms. The coastal expert will also create a restoration plan for the 2024 beach season. Next slide, please. And these are just some of the things. We immediately took a profile of the beach as it existed at the time, and the town hired Dr. Henry Bokanevich, who is an internationally recognized expert on beach erosion, dredging, coastal groundwater issues, and pollution in the coastal ocean. He is involved with monitoring programs for ocean beaches to investigate shoreline changes, beach dynamics, and response to storms. He is at Stony Brook University. Dr. Bukanevich gave us some immediate recommendations. One was to get this immediate survey of the beach profile. And after we accepted his recommendations for the creation of a new primary dune down by Ditch, the town then sent out an RFP for a coastal engineering firm, and a Coastal Science and Engineering Inc. was the winning bidder and was awarded the bid, and they designed the mapping and the dune for the town. That information, all of this information, was then sent to the DEC in 2024 through 2025. Before that, next slide, please. I'll go to the next one. Well, David, that's you, right? Well, I'll leave it here for a second, but what happened was, in that interim time, Governor Kathy Hochul visited the eastern end of Long Island and announced a $2.5 million project to protect Ditch Plains Beach from coastal erosion caused by storms. That was in August of 2024. We developed the plans and we received the DEC permit in July of 2025. After that, Bistrian Materials was awarded the contract for the reconstruction in October of 2025. I'll immediately hand it over to you, David, but before that, I just want to extend my thanks to support staff. Brian Frank is the project manager, Kim Shaw, Mark Abramson from Natural Resources, Matt Jedlicka, our engineer, Steve O'Brien, Building and Grounds Department, and Tim Treadwell and Marine Patrol for all of their help, and also to Governor Hochul, to the DEC Eastern head, Kathy Haas at the time, who came out immediately also with her staff to look at the damage so they could help best assist us, and their shepherding of meeting with us prior to the official DEC permit application, so that we were really ready to go by the time we put the application in, and then it moved pretty quickly through that process. Those prior meetings really helped us with that planning. And I don't know if I mentioned Kathy, but I'll mention her again because she immediately, Supervisor Kathy Burke-Gonzalez, immediately in January reached out for funding sources, invited the DEC out and members of the governor's staff to visually walk the beach with us immediately so they could see the damage. And with that, I'll turn it over to David, who shepherded the construction from that point on.
Yes, I want to thank you very much. As you see on the slide here, this is a slide from 2018, and you can see how the morphology of this area is, anything from a rip-wrap jetty to a full-on revetment. And if we go to the next slide from 2018, what I wanted us to notice on the top left there, where we look into the Ditch Plains Comfort Station parking lot, in front of the 3 or 4 small cottages there, you might see actually a dune that was placed in that area, and that was placed in there after Superstorm Sandy. And you see how it completely vegetated after with the beach plugs that were there. That's going to be very similar to what we hope happens in this location here, as you'll see in the future slides. Again, another one into 2018, you see how one of the areas where the former East Deck property in Montauk, many of us are aware of. But again, what you're seeing behind that to the north is the community that this action and this plan was there to protect. This is a community that became vulnerable at this time when the dunes washed away from flooding, as were in the pictures from Councilmember Flight and we showed, but also how it is a very small short distance to where you see possible other breach points that would come from the north then too. Next slide, please. Again, this is actually a video slide that I showed earlier that was taken from the beachfront, from the inundating tide, storm surge that was coming in, that was damaging the property then too. Again, I do not recommend being an individual that chases after storms for danger, but you can see this is what happens in 10 seconds. Imagine what happens after 10 hours. Next slide, please. In October, November of this calendar year, October, you'll see here, we started surveying the beach properties again in advance of the dune being set in place. What you'll see here is how this is actually one of the town's preserve areas that's just west of the Otis Road beach parking area, and you'll see how the dune blew back into this area there and all the sand, but also grew back over time if you give Mother Nature an opportunity to do so and to be resilient. Next slide, please. Again, this is another slide just looking towards the north on the same day as we start surveying the properties. Next slide, please. Continuing to have our drone photos down the beach line, and this came to part of what we were doing during every course of this project, from first evaluation, as Councilmember Rogers mentioned, working with engineer, determination of placement of sand, so we knew what the levels and elevations were to how much sand quantities were going to be there in placement, and then also as we can move forward into placement of the sand. And Chelsea, we can roll, whoever's on there, roll forward again to the next one. Thank you. And on to the next slide also. full work started here just before Thanksgiving of this calendar year. Placement of beach-compatible sand was placed by the contractor, Bistrian Materials. I do want to thank Patrick Bistrian III and specifically Jason Keys and their operators for their oversight of their project there. They worked in a very coordinated effort here. And actually, let me thank Mother Nature too. She allowed for them to get the beach on site without losing any beach, but then would be at a cost to the taxpayer. Next slide, please. Another look, just looking north there as we started to reach all the way down. Next slide, please. Again, the contractor shaping, mobilizing, moving the dune to you get to the elevation of 16 feet. Next slide, please. From the top of the dune, looking east on there down towards the area. What you'll notice is that we had to receive easements in these properties. The areas that are in front of the old ED40 area, which between Otis, east of Otis and west of the dirt lot area, we did not receive the easements, so that's why the town could not place sand in those areas if there are public questions on that. Next slide, please. Again, you'll see the topography that's there now. Again, we have to stay off the dunes, as we'll mention shortly. Next. You'll see how the toe of the dune there is already starting to morph through aeolian processes, which is moving in the air, and also a little slumpage. We do recognize that this area will interact with the water, and it's meant and designed to interact with the water eventually. Next slide, please. One more, and we'll keep going, and we'll get to some of the final slides that are on there. Again, last year, I want to thank the town board for moving forward with changing of the town code. We changed town code 91-4R. No person shall walk through or cross over any dune unless it's a location authorized by the town trustees or town board, including but not limited to elevated walkways, stairways, other specifically designated dune crossing structures, or designated footpaths. What this does, it destroys the dune and doesn't allow for the dune to re-nourish itself properly, and these are the signages. This is the signs that we have that we'll be installing along this dune area, but also other areas in the dune to make sure the general public's aware of that then too, and the reason why then too. I'm going to bring in Brian Frank. Brian Frank, who was the assistant planning director and the project manager for this project. Can you go through the next couple of slides that will just show some of the effectiveness of it, please?
Sure. Well, as thank you, Deputy Supervisor Liss and town board members. This is a drone footage of the nearly completed dune work. As was evident in some of the earlier slides, the dune construction followed a specific template. Another partner that's worth thanking is Walbridge Surveyors and Dan Weaver, who was very responsive to a request to stake the footprint of the dune and the benchmarks used for elevation to make sure that we were following the design criteria that Coastal Science and Engineering designed the dune to, and the DEC permitted the dune to. I'd like to compliment our partners that we had while this was under construction. Obviously things are moving, and anytime we required an answer, our partners were all very responsive, and that includes Matt Jedlicka and his crew at McLean, Patrick and his staff at CSE, and Jason Keys, who David just mentioned, in addition to the town personnel, which I'll circle back to. But if you want to advance from here, we could do so.
Thank you. And Brian, before we start on this specific one, this is where the comfort station is in ditch. I want to make everyone aware of the pile of sand to the left there. There were 3 piles of stockpile of sand that the town had already paid for within the contract, that we left in the 3 parking lots that will eventually be used if needed to replenish any of this dune if there's any coastal storms that upcoming and prior to the beach season. So it's only temporary in nature. It will be removed in advance of the summer season. Still, we might need more. I hope not. We might not need it at all. Either way, we'll use it for a recreational beach. But that stockpile of sand, which you'll see in the next couple of photos, is only temporary, and we request the general public to stay off of it. And this is at the dirt lot area. You'll see here's approximately 300 cubic yards of sand then too. Thank you, Brian. You can just continue.
Well, another thing worth pointing out is I wasn't out there on a regular basis, but anytime I was, I noticed the public being respectful of the work area too, avoiding where the contractors and the machinery were working, respecting the signage that limited access to the beach when construction was in progress, and hopefully that was not more than a minor inconvenience for the members of the public.
And as you see on the screen through this drone photography and video that we're using, the beach is already changing over. We're starting to see different morphologies, but again, one coastal storm can change all of that. Overall, for myself in this project, I want to thank all of town staff for their assistance and engineers, but we also have to thank our other partners in the community. We have to thank the membership of CCOM, who was a tremendous advocate for this project on all levels and at all times, consistently collaborating with the town board and also with our partners at the state to move this ahead and put this on their radar. I want to thank the Ditch Plains Association and also their membership and residents there for being vocal for their needs then too. It was heard. It was heard at the state and was heard at the town, and we actually effectively put together a project that will protect from a storm, but it's not the solution in the end. This is a little bit of a hurdle if a big storm comes, and it buys some more time for all of us as community become more resilient and try to make those decisions then too. But in the end, I want to thank everyone, because without the teamwork here of all the town board members and others in the community and at the state level, it wouldn't have been accomplished in the time frame and at all then too. Brian, I don't think any of us had said thank you, so we want to immediately say thank you to you for your leadership on this project and moving this ahead too. And with that, that's the presentation to the board members if you have any questions.
Yeah, I just want to add a couple of quick remarks. And David, you're absolutely right. In anything that you said, the community was so helpful. I want to thank the Bruces for recognizing the importance of granting the easements to us for not just their property, but also for the protection of the entire neighborhood, which is part of their concern and always has been, is the entire neighborhood out at Ditch Plains. And I just want to add that the reason why one of the reasons why this dune configuration was selected at this height was to hopefully, was to give us eligibility in the event of a declared disaster for funding for repair from the federal government through a FEMA program that hopefully still exists. And just thank you as well, David, for putting on your building hat. And I know, David, you've been an advocate and have been advocating for Ditch Plains, the importance of it as a community resource, an economic engine in the town to be included in as a betterment in the FEMA project, and I know that there has been some initial headway in that direction, but we can't wait for these types of decisions to be made before we can at least put an emergency structure in there, which is really what this is in the long run.
Agreed. I think even when Tom was on before on the board with the Citizens Advisory Committee, advocated to make sure there was at least a recreational beach there sometimes, which is extremely important to the iconic spot that Ditch Plains is, the economic engine, but also this is a protection of the neighborhood in general then too. Brian, can you just go over sort of the next steps that the town will be doing for this project over the course of the next couple of weeks, months, potentially years?
Sure, David. So we're in the monitoring phase now. I think the construction is pretty much complete, and now we're going to monitor it. Your presentation highlighted at least some of the sand piles that are stockpiled right near the project site, available for use if there is a depletion of the dune and it needs to be repaired. We have compatible material available there. We will continue to monitor the condition of the dune and repair it as necessary. And with a little luck, about 6 weeks from now, you're going to see the beach grass starting to grow there. And you're also going to see, as David had mentioned, every dune, every beach interacts with the shoreline. That's what makes them what they are. The quality of this sand is really, really high. And as this material does get pulled into littoral processes, it's going to become part of that nearshore habitat as it works its way to the west as the longshore current does out here.
Thank you very much, Brian.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I mean, look, I think it was right when I joined the board, we had this emergency come in. And, one thing I want to remind the public who weren't out here to what happened is that this just wasn't just the beachfront properties. This went 2 or 3 blocks back towards Lake Montauk. So this structure was desperately needed. I appreciate, and I've heard from some community members that, the frustration of spending taxpayer money on putting sand up there to fight something that's, it's coming and it will continue to come. But at the same time, I think, it's our duty to help protect these neighborhoods and ensure that, we do have something in place in the interim till we have a longer term plan for what we're going to do in this area. The history of this area is critical. It's called ditch plains for a reason. I think one thing that I really want to see is, I want us to be vocal with the county that ensuring that, their vector control group does what's required of them to maintain the ditches in this area, because it is known to flood. And those ditches are in place to help mitigate that flooding and move the water quickly across over to Lake Montauk. That's historically what they're there for. And so ensuring that infrastructure is maintained is critical for this area as well. Overall, I want to thank my colleagues, Kate and Ian, with this. I think you did an exceptional job bringing this forward. You did it the right way. You did the relevant engineering work, you did the profile work and the construction work. And I think long term, ensuring that we have the beach grass on there to ensure the durability of this structure is critical. We will face future storms. That's the nature of where we live. Beyond, this infrastructure, it's important that people in that area are aware of that and they're prepared for that as well. Ensuring that your properties are designed in such a way that, should a flood occur, that the critical infrastructure of your house is not on the ground floor level where it could potentially be flooded. As you develop your properties, moving important pieces upstairs and preparing yourself for that flood, preparing to be known when to go and where to go, and what resources are there for you. So I think, look, this is something we have to do. It's because of where we live. But overall, I think this has been an excellent project and one that I imagine will be looked at across the coastal areas as to how to kind of provide midterm protection against these kind of events.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Ian.
I have nothing to add. No, it's very exciting to see the project, complete, and I hope it is successful. I can't wait for the spring to see that beach grass start to grow.
Agreed. Well, thank you all. Thank you very much, Brian, for joining us, and everyone then too. We're going to move on to town board liaison reports, please. Councilmember Flight.
Thank you, Deputy Supervisor. I will start off with the Amagansett Citizens Advisory Committee. With no meeting this month, our next meeting will be February the 9th, 6:30 p.m. at the Amagansett School Library. For the IT department, just wanted to update the public on some key developments we have going on there. As I'm sure you've heard, we've been working with the building department to change the interface for the public with regards to the building department. One of the requests of the new chief building inspector is to kind of silo different applications to help fast track some of those smaller projects, your deck replacements, your window replacements, etc. We're in the testing phase of that right now. There's some architects who the town's working with who've been kind of given some initial insight into that infrastructure. And the initial feedback for that is it's really positive, it's working very well, and it's helping our department get visibility to those applications to help them kind of move forward at a faster rate. The proposed rollout for that, we're looking forward to the general public, is February 14th, a Valentine's present to all, but I will keep you updated on that timeline as we move forward. Once that project's completed within IT, the next areas that we're looking to kind of address and improve our interface with the public is in the special events department and the clerk's office. Obviously, the special events department has huge interaction with the public and takes up a significant amount of our legislative secretary's time. I want to say it's probably about about 75% of their hours in the peak season is spent doing that. So this is something we're hoping that as we introduce will significantly reduce the need for that kind of personal interaction and just streamline applications as possible. And then with the clerk's office, with our new town clerk, Mike Hanson, who comes from an IT background, there's a lot of stuff we look to improve in that department that he wants to help improve the efficiency and the interface with the public there as well. So those are the three kind of key projects that IT will be looking to address in the first 2 quarters of this year. Human services, if we could bring up those graphics I sent over, LTV.
Absolutely. Let me just go pull that up right now.
You so much. So this is the 2025. This is just a demographic update that I want to show the public as to who is using the facility from an age structure. It's something that the head of the Human Services Department and I have been discussing, and I'll come into this a little bit more as we go forward. But, we've obviously have been discussing, the concept of the new community center. And that's something I'm going to be liaison to. But as we do that, I want to have a really strong understanding of, what facilities are being used by whom within the existing center. So as you look at this, the first piece you're looking at here is the senior nutrition program. So what you can see from this, that it's roughly an even split between the 3 key age categories here, with 38% of the nutrition program being used by those who are 60 to 74, roughly 35% for those between 75 and 84, and then 27% thereabouts by 85 plus. So, critically, that's kind of a relatively even spread. If we could move down to the next slide, we get to our wellness programs. Within our wellness programs, there's a slightly different split here. And I think what is really interesting here is that these programs are significantly, you're seeing a skew towards our older populations. And what's really important about that is this is health prevention, especially as people age. We have the programs Qigong, Zumba, osteoporosis classes, etc. Helping prevent people from having more serious events as they age, through the introduction of these programs. And you can see it's been well adopted by those groups as well. And it's something that we're going to absolutely consider as we move forward. And the last slide I have on here is about transportation. So, for those of you who don't know, we obviously have a transportation facility within our Human Services Department to help people get to and from these senior center, and also to appointments, to pick up pharmacy orders, etc. And so here again, similar to the wellness program, you're seeing the bulk of this being used by those 70 and above. So again, that's something that we kind of want to ensure that we continue as we move forward, but just taking that on board as we make any future decisions as to what the community center may provide. Thank you, LTV, for that. Moving back. The Fire Marshal's office. Those of you might notice, towards the end of last year, we had a significant amount of work, clearing work done on the Bucks Hill Preserve Access Fire Road. That has been completed, and it looks great. There's going to be some additional training work going on there in February. The Fire Academy out here is going to be practicing on doing some field tree removal sessions. This will be taking place on February 14th and 15th between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. That access point will be closed to the public during that area, as they will be taking down some of the dead pines adjacent to the fire road and along the trails in that area. ADU Implementation Committee, just to kind of update the public, New York State has legislation in place that allows municipalities to offer a 5-year waiver of reassessment for capital improvements that add an ADU to a property. It's up to towns as to how and whether they adopt this. The ADU committee has reviewed this. They're in favor of this. Currently, I'm working with the planning, the tax assessor's office, and other departments to understand what that might look like for the town and introduce that to the town board for a work session in February as to whether we want to consider that for adoption as a board. License Review Board, just a reminder for contractors to renew their licenses for 2025. East End Fire Commissioners, if we could bring up that image I sent over. A few things, seeing the removal of someone who could have potentially fallen through the ice. This is the time of year it happens, and so I just want to remind the public of some of the New York State guidelines as to what safety on ice looks like. The general guidance here from the DEC is that 4 inches of clear ice is required to support an average person's weight. Strong ice is typically clear with a bluish tint. Weak ice appears milky and porous. Ice does not freeze uniformly. Be cautious where you have bubblers kind of adjacent to docks or other areas or outlets. They produce thin, unsafe ice. Typically some distance away, they can go out as well. Be alert in areas near the shore and over moving bodies of water and where streams enter and exit lakes and ponds. Use the buddy system, and across our water bodies, we do have buoyancy aids available. Be sure you know where they are before you go out on the ice. I also want to update the public that on February 10th at 6 p.m., New York State Parks will be hosting an informational session at the Montauk Downs to update the broader community with regard to the work they've been doing in Napeague and Hither Hills State Parks to address the pitch pine forest devastation. For those of you who haven't had the opportunity, if you drive down Napeague Meadows, you can see a huge amount of clearing has been done out there to remove the dead pine. Additionally, out in Montauk towards the Carol Morrison property, they've done some regrading of the fire road there. And in Hither Woods, they've removed a huge amount of vegetation for some of the fire access roads there. The work continues to kind of go on. There's grading opportunities that we've identified in some areas, and we're continuing to look at some of our town properties as well with regards to improvements we're doing there. As noted earlier, there is going to be a new community center committee that I will be the liaison to. For members of the public who may have interest in serving on that, please feel free to contact my office, tflight@ehamptony.gov. You know, the first part of what that committee will be doing is outreach to the public to understand, you know, what we see the needs today for that community center to be, and, you know, more importantly, or as importantly, what we don't think it should be. It's a listening opportunity. So, you know, it's really that community outreach is key. I will be visiting all the CACs over the next quarter to hear viewpoints on that, as well as PTA meetings, you know, school board meetings. If you have a community organization that you would like me to visit, to hear your viewpoints, again, feel free to reach out to me. You know, I do have an update from the business committee. It's really just an update on the housing market. You know, there's been a report released recently about, you know, what's been happening with housing properties out here. And it goes back to kind of looking from 2014 through to 2025. And it was some interesting kind of facts that came out of that. Between 2014 and 2019, you know, median home prices out here hovered around the high 900,000. You know, more recently, after 2019, prices climbed rapidly, more than doubling, and last year was the first year that we saw the median household price average in our town over $2 million. At the same time, overall sales activity peaked during our pandemic years and have since fallen by around 25%, with 3 consecutive years of reduced transaction counts, despite strong dollar volume. This speaks to the housing crisis, the affordability issues we have out here. You know, if the median sale of a home out here is $2 million, there's not a lot of jobs out here that currently pay a salary that can afford that. So, you know, it's one of the things that we have to continue to address through the delivery of new housing. I did see that the governor is actually proposing the removal of SECRA for new housing developments. And I think that's something as a board we should have a discussion about, because I think, you know, environmentally out here, we have to be on the forefront of protecting our environment, but this challenge of providing affordable housing in the community is something I think we equally have to address. So finding the right balance of how we move that forward, I think, is something we should consider as we move forward. That's everything for my liaison report.
Thanks, Ian.
Yeah, sure. I just have a very brief.
You coming to me second? I was already.
Just a brief report. First of all, just to piggyback on what Tom said about the ADU tax break, that's something I've looked into too with the housing department, and then Ed Reale, the housing attorney. I'm supportive of it. I think that it's just, and to be clear, it wouldn't reduce the amount that the town raised in taxes. It would just be a different distribution. And I think we need every tool possible to encourage people to develop affordable housing. I think ADU is a great way to do that. And I think the people who participate would deserve that tax break. So I look forward to a more in-depth conversation in February, Tom. The Ag Advisory Committee will meet this Thursday at Suite 111A at 300 Panago Place. That's near the Planning Department and Building Department, same building. Those meetings are open to the public, just to remind everybody. I know recently the Ag Committee presented some proposed code changes. There's no detailed changes, but the idea of creating an agricultural classification. They have not released their agenda, but I imagine that'll be a topic of conversation for anybody who wants to be there. And then next week, the Property Management Committee will meet in the main meeting room at Town Hall on Wednesday, the 21st. Again, that agenda is not set, but I anticipate that they'll be resetting their priorities for CPF properties with historic structures and how we want to maintain them. That's all I have.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, David. So first I would like to start, I know recently in the town, there's been a number of folks who have passed that we'd like to recognize. I would like to recognize Barbara Burnside. Barbara Burnside who passed last week, was a generous volunteer, a master gardener, and a gardening angel. I'm taking these words from Gail Pellet at Change Hampton. Barbara showed up every week during spring, summer, and fall to care for our community pollinator garden at East Hampton Town Hall. Just lately, they exchanged emails with Barbara as did I in December, hoping beyond hope for her recovery. I met Barbara in the pollinator garden outside of Town Hall. She was quiet, pleasant woman who always was available to answer my millions of questions on which plant was which, and was very generous with her community service to the time. To my surprise, Barbara came into my office at one point and spoke of what was happening on a national level across our country, and this very quiet person who tended so carefully to plants asked to organize pro-democracy rallies, No Kings rallies at the town hall. I didn't expect that from Barbara, but she did. And she brought thousands of people together in our community to support our democracy. She became a leader in that movement. It was not a lifelong activism, but she saw what she saw, and she felt the need to speak up. Barbara became on the forefront in East Hampton of protecting our democracy and the right to peacefully gather in support. I'm heartbroken at the news of Barbara passing. She was an inspiration to me. I will keep Barbara forever in my heart with love and admiration and deep gratitude for her standing up. And I think she speaks to how ordinary people become extraordinary in times like this. There is a memorial for Barbara at Hoyle Hall on Saturday at 1 p.m. Her family asked that you either come, share your thoughts, and also it's a potluck, so please bring something either sweet or savory in the true sense of community. As Gail Pellet says, and I add this, I hope that Barbara is traveling through magical gardens with her bullhorn forever. Last Saturday, the Wainscott CAC met. It was a wonderful meeting. Also, again, I'm going to acknowledge Sally Sunshine, who has not passed, but who has stepped back from the Wainscott CAC. She was the great organizer of the CAC, and I want to thank her for her commitment to our community. I also want to thank Jordy Marks, who I will have a resolution on to add Jordy to the Wainscott CAC. Topics that we discussed. First was concern by members of the CAC for businesses and whether they know or are aware of their rights if ICE comes to their businesses. And I was sent some posters that I'll distribute on what businesses' rights are. Also, one of the major topics of the discussion was a discussion on the airport. Mark Franz, who is now heading the airport subcommittee, had met with myself and has a draft plan for moving forward on the airport, or just of interest of what we can do to monitor the airport. In his first year, one of the suggestions was to hire a consultant to gather the data of the last 5 years for operations and complaints, 2 parts. Last Thursday, we adopted a resolution doing just that for HMMH to gather the data that's already existing so we can take a look at and make decisions on the airport. Nothing to do with restricting the airport or anything in opposition to the restraining order. We all understand that we are going to be fully compliant with the existing restraining order on the airport. But we gather data on every other town property. This gathering data has nothing to do with that whatsoever. Also, at the CAC, there was a reading of the letters that and reiterating what Francesca Rhiannon and over the speakers from Lena Tambori about looking at extending the leaf blower time period ban, looking at it from a scientific point of view of when leaves actually fall. They're not falling on September 15th. And eventually looking at how we can have a transition to electric leaf blowers. And in the future, I think this goes along with another project that I'm working on, which is bringing sustainability practices and landscaping, et cetera, to the town through educational programs. And further, to be able to forward that, I'm meeting with a lot of the nonprofit organizations that have tremendous information on supporting sustainable landscaping that we can gather and put on a town website with visuals and examples. And I look forward to that meeting. And speaking of the Sustainability Committee, they will be meeting on January 24th. That's over Zoom, and any members of the public are invited to attend. We work on the composting for 2026. There's going to be an outreach to compost operators that we'll talk more about in the future through that committee, and also looking at some tree protections also as well that was already presented to the town. And I believe that's all I have, David.
Thank you very much. In aquaculture, the aquaculture lease program through Suffolk County was called the SCOUT program. Their lease application cycle is open right now. It started actually on Monday the 12th. And if you have any more questions or would like to participate in that program, please contact Thomas Rackley, the Senior Environmental Analyst at the Suffolk County at suffolkcounty.ny.gov/shellfish. In the Department of Recreation, recreational programs that are available currently right now are Biddy Basketball. That's at the John Marshall, grades 3 through 4 in the mornings, and grades 5 through 6 also in the morning. This starts this Saturday, the 17th. Grade 7, 8 starts January 24th. There are still some spots available. Registration is online on the town's website at ehamptonny.gov under the recreational page then too. Want to let everyone know a couple updates here at Stephen Hand's Path. We are preparing for the expansion of the parking areas. As we discussed here some time ago, the anticipated start is to start at the month's end into February to hopefully have that all complete by the events of Little League. In Montauk here, we completed a lot of the ADA sidewalk work in Montauk. It was a successful work for trip hazards. There's still other work to be implemented on there then too, and we will continue to move forward on that, particularly as we look into working with our contractors and also the highway department. Westlake Dock update. Again, that construction project has moved forward to a portion where we are at a pause temporarily until we receive all the material, which I believe is in transit from outside the country, and it should be here shortly within this month. And then that work will be starting in full earnest again, and we are in constant contact with our slip holders there also, but overall it's going well. Water quality, please don't forget that the town's CPF water quality application process is open. Please contact the town's Natural Resources Department about that application if you have any interest in that, then too, extremely important. Next, the Montauk Inlet Dredge update as of first thing this morning. There's been nearly 90,000 cubic yards of material been removed. They are going through their mechanical hydraulic removal of rocks and debris into the channels, again, to bring it down to 17 feet on there. They're running up against the NIPS window, sorry, not FIMPS, NIPS window, and they're probably going to be extending the dredging time frame. That was what was being discussed on the update this morning. Unfortunately, I had a hop into this meeting, so I don't have more than that, how that concluded. But I'll contact Brian Frank, who's been also working with me on that project from what happened there. Again, it's not going to be a long extension, and it's mostly going to be only an extension of the hydraulic means of the hydraulic mechanical digging, but the dredge is going to be complete probably within the next couple of days. Let's see here. Lastly, I had to take a family member on Friday to the ER, to the freestanding emergency room. It's not the first time I've taken a family member, but it's definitely the first time I took a family member of this generation, specific generation there. And that person and my family member was over the moon at the availability for the first time in her 65 years out here that East Hampton had an ER. Tom, I know you work on this, and other members of the public see this facility all the time. I've been there with others. I've worked on it then too. Again, the town board stood strong on this. And to have my family member be treated with respect, to go through all the litany of diagnostic capacity that it has in East Hampton. And then once we left, hours later, we were able to go down and get wonton soup in her hometown without driving back. It was touching, and that family member is feeling a lot better. It is one of the reasons why I do this job, to help family and help my town. So I want to thank all that was involved in that, and also all the first responders that use it, because I do know that's helped, as you mentioned. Lastly, again, as this is the first town board meeting of 2026, I want to wish everyone that is here, I want to wish town board members, the general public, a happy and healthy new year. I wish everyone good health, to the press, to the members of the Montauk Library. Let's make 2026 collaboratively successful for everyone. Let's move things ahead. I wish everyone health, prosperity, and joy, and reach out to neighbors. And this can continue to be one great Township of East Hampton, and I look forward to representing all of you in 2026. With that, let's move on to resolutions.
May I just one thing, David, so I forgot to mention, sorry. I just wanted to, and on behalf of all the town board, pass on condolences to the Ryan family on the passing of Pat Ryan last week. She was a matriarch, not just to her family, but to the town. She performed numerous roles serving for the East Hampton Village Ambulance for many years. I attended the wake last night. I think there's one degree of separation for all of us to the Ryan family. It was a beautiful event, and my condolences to all the family.
Agreed. Councilmember Flake.
Resolutions. I will start with 2026-187. This is to retain L.K. McLean Associates Professional Engineering Services for the Sanitation Department Household Hazardous Waste Collection Event Registration at a cost to the town not to exceed $3,700.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
2026-188, this is notice to bidders, EH26001. This is for the supply and delivery of dairy products for 2026. The bid is available January 15th. And it's due back to the town January 29th, 2026. For more details, feel free to contact the purchasing department at purchasing@ehamptonny.gov beginning January 15th, 2026.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
2026-189 is a notice to bidders EH26002. This is for supply and delivery of frozen food. The bid is available January 15th, 2026 and due back January 29th, 2026. Details available from the purchasing department, purchasing@ehamptonny.gov.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
2026-190 is additionally a notice to bidders for EH26003. This is for supply and delivery of groceries 2026. Bid is available January 15th, 2026 and due back January 29th, 2026.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried. I'm happy to offer Resolution 2026-191. This is a 2025 budget modification for Marine Patrol. We're bringing the amount of we're decreasing the budget line for other equipment in the amount of $591 and also telephone in the amount of $358, and then increasing budget lines for uniforms in the amount of $140 and for telephone in the amount of $809.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried. 192 is a 2025 budget modification for the Amagansett Street Light District. We're increasing revenue for appropriated unreserved surplus in the amount of $500, increasing expenditure for light and power in the amount of $500. We're decreasing light and maintenance supplies in the amount of $2,000 and increasing light and power in the amount of $2,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried. 193 is authorized payment of prior invoice for Marshall and Sons Service Station Incorporated. This is for $42.42.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried. 194 is authorized payment for prior year's invoice to Suffolk County Water Authority in the amount of $28.08.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried. 195 is an authorized payment of 2025 invoices to AWS for sanitary operations and maintenance. 3 invoices, each in the amount of $375.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried. 196 is for Hamilton fuel expenses. This is a reimbursement. The police officer, William Hamilton, who attended the child safety training in 2025, and reimbursements for $69.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried. 197 is a drone certification reimbursement for Joseph Izzo in the amount of $175.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
I have Resolution 2026-198, and this is to establish a fixed fee for EV charging. Whereas the town of East Hampton has installed electric vehicle charging stations at Town Hall for use by the public, and whereas the provision of the EV charging stations incurs cost to the town, including electricity usage, equipment installation, maintenance, and administrative oversight, whereas the town board wishes to establish a reasonable and uniform fee, whereas the town board finds the fixed fee of 30 cents per kilowatt hour for electric vehicle charging fair, reasonable, and consistent with prevailing market rates. Be it resolved that the town board of the town of East Hampton authorize the establishment of a fixed fee of 30 kilowatts per hour for the use of electric vehicle charging stations located at Town Hall. Resolved that said fee shall apply to all users unless otherwise exempt by law or by further resolution of the town board. Resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately upon adoption.
Second.
Move for discussion. I just want to confirm that we don't want to go lower on this. And the reason I kind of do this is twofold. Is, one, just from the perspective, we've incurred capital costs building out the number of stations we have. And the goal there is to have as many people as possible using them. Market rates for EV charging range, public grade 2 charges 20 to 40 cents. So we're in the middle point of that range. If you charge at home, you're between 10 and 20 cents. In order for people to use these, if we are more competitive with our pricing, then they get used more, which is, for me, a twofold when, one, our capital investment is, really being utilized, and two, more people are actually using electric vehicles to charge it. So I want to see if there was consideration of actually lowering this to 25 cents, just to kind of encourage more people to use those charging structures.
So I would consider that, but I think if we put in the 30 right now and start with this, and let's come back with more of the data and information, I can reconsider that, but let's make sure at least we get something established first.
Yeah, and I support that idea, David, because we did do the research and did some data on the 30 cents, and that is what is market standard for second level EV charging. It's more for the supercharging. That is present out in Montauk. And I just want to note our capital expenditure, this was done through a grant. So it didn't cost us any money to do it. And as an EV user, I think that we should start at 30 and we can take a look at usage and collect some data on it.
But I agree with what Tom is saying is incentivize to use it more.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the market or the regular rate. I'm open to discussing further for sure. Thank Tom for bringing it up. I just don't have the information. So I'm supportive of setting it at 30 for now so we have something in place.
All right, so we have a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Resolution 199 is to pay a bill for petty cash. This has come to the attention of the town that 2023 and 2024 petty cash receipts from the ordinance department have not been paid. Therefore, being resolved, the petty cash payment is hereby authorized in the amount of $12.45.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Resolution 201. This is to
I
amend.
have one more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's Resolution 2026-200, and this is again to pay a petty bill for petty cash. And this is for cash receipts from 2023 and 2024 from the Animal Control Department. Resolved that petty cash payment is authorized in the amount of $9.65.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Resolution 2026-201. This is to amend Resolution number 2026-118 to correct a budget line for the annual maintenance for the town clerk licensing system. And the total amount is $3,400.03. I'm sorry, $403.42.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried. You have an additional resolution?
I do. Oh, I don't have it on my sheet.
No problem.
Okay, thanks. Resolution 26202, and this is to release security, urban renewal parcel 17 and SP-12-1. This is whereas a report has been received from the town's consulting engineer approving road work in an urban renewal area, resolved that the following security by the town board is hereby released, and the town clerk is directed to return the same to the principal party, which is 3rd Street, Invesco LLC, care of John Quinn, 4 Dogwood Court, Old Brookville, New York. And this is for 8 3rd Street in East Hampton, and this is in the amount of $16,500.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Resolution 203, this is to retain professional services for Municipal Valuation Services, Inc. for 2025-26, small claim valuation and processing services for 2026. The total amount is not to exceed $200,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried. I have 2026-204. This retain Regano LLC as environmental counsel for 2026. One moment, and this is the discussion with claim litigation issues in Wayne Scott against PFAs and other information. Counsel is not to exceed $100,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried. 2026-205 is retain Regano LLC for airport litigation in 2026 for a list of airport litigation below, and the compensation standard rates are also addressed below.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried. I believe that's all we have for today. Does anyone have any other comments or concerns?
Not me.
Good. Okay, can I have a motion to go into executive session?
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session for personnel.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, LTV. Thank you all for participating in